she was like fast forwarding to the quote good parts. There was no good part. There's nothing good about that. That's so hood rich, it's beyond hood rich. Hey, welcome back to my channel. So it's Melissa here with another video. You read from the title, you already know why we're here. So let's get into this discussion. So I'm gonna bring y'all a little bit closer because y'all need to get into this. So we just gonna have a conversation. So I'm gonna lean back and get comfortable. I witnessed the most toxic situation between a mother and a daughter that was so disturbing. And I have their names in the title, and I'm not going to give that situation too much life, but it's going to be the basis of what we talk about today. So if you read from the title, Tasha K is a vlogger, very successful vlogger that I follow. And she did a video, she released a video last night of her talking to Tokyo Toni. So Tokyo Toni was talking about, Tasha gave Tokyo Toni a platform, an opportunity to talk about her relationship with Blac Chyna. If you don't know who Blac Chyna is, a lot of what this backstory is really doesn't matter, because I'm going to move the conversation forward to talk about toxic family relationships and toxic parental relationships. So with that being said, like I said, I don't want to spend too much time, but I want to give the basis. So Chyna is, as you unless you just don't know, she's the mother of Dream, who is Rob Kardashian's baby mother, however you want to say it. Long story short, she apparently has a long history of discord and dysfunction with her mother. Tasha K sets up this interview. Tokyo comes on.
Okay, Tokyo Toni.
And she is ranting and raving about Blac Chyna and how horrible she is and how she taught her everything that she knows. Why doesn't she put me on? Because I'm the one that taught her everything. And it was absolutely, and that wasn't even the bad part. Like, that wasn't even the bad part. Tasha would ask her one question and she'd, no, that be this and that, you know, whatever. So that part, we're sitting here because everything, you know, she, at one point, you know, I made her and she don't put me on and I don't need to be put on, but it's just absolutely insane. But that wasn't the bad part. So then she goes on with Tasha K and she says, you know what, I have this recording and I'm going to prove that she is crazy, or she is dysfunctional and she's wrong, and I, you know, she's dead to me. This woman boldly, so proud, she recorded a conversation between her daughter and herself.
And they lied on you, and they got their friends lying on you, and then said, oh, hold on. You know what, Tasha? I can't. Hold on. I can't.
Okay.
Hold one quick moment. Hold on.
Okay.
Because I'm not doing it. Oh, no. Hold on. 2 seconds. Let me find it. I done sip this damn wine. Right. Here we go.
Okay.
I'm not playing no games. Either one of them here.
And I use the term conversation very lightly, because she literally, in my opinion, was ranting and raving at Blac Chyna on the phone. And she was telling her, you said that you were raised by your grandmother. You weren't raised by your grandmother. You scum of the earth. Like, every name that you could ever think of that you could ever spew about someone, this woman said on the phone. It wasn't alleged or anything. Tasha K's video has the recording of this woman's recording her interaction. So now it's one thing, before Tokyo pressed play to the phone video, it's one thing for her to have that erratic behavior while she's talking to Tasha K, you know, because it was just as erratic before the phone call. It's one thing to do that, you know, and you're just like, oh, you know, it was sort of like watching a train, listening to a train wreck. You were like, you know, energy just off. It was foul to me. And that was even before the phone call. But you were just like, okay. It was one thing where you're like, okay. But then in her trying to defend herself and you know, Blac Chyna's the worst, whatever, Tasha kept saying, but this is your daughter. Like, regardless if all of that's happening, you know, how could you call your daughter these names? How is she dead to you? That whole thing. Then, you know, like I said, Tokyo goes, well, you know what? I got something to show you. So in other words, Tokyo addressed this phone conversation as if it was going to be this bombshell, you know, this bombshell. I got information and watch you go, whatever. She was so proud, you know, in the most ghettoest, proudest ways that you could ever be proud of something that's so wrong. She goes and she pressed play. And I'm telling you, y'all, I've heard some people call their children some crazy stuff. Whatever, do it, do you. I'm not calling my daughters the bees and my kids, you know, my sons bastards or whatever. Lovingly, I may joke and say things and they joke and say things and we joke and say things together. But when you watch this video, Tasha K kept her composure because it was as if you were viewing child abuse in real time. Although Blac Chyna is an adult, that is still her child. And for her to speak that way, and I know that there are some parents that do that. That's a whole nother conversation. If you want to leave a comment down below and be like, hey, I talk to my daughter that way all the time. That's up to you. Like, hey, that's you and your relationship. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about me and my opinion about the situation. So I know that there are women that call their daughters bees and call their children, you know, all kind of stuff. That's just not my MO. So she presses play, and it is the most toxic thing that you ever have witnessed. If that's something that you normally don't witness. I was just, so you go from, in the beginning of the video, yes, I just got finished doing my makeup. So anyway, you go from the other video, like the beginning of the video, you're just like, because she's just yelling. She's yelling. You're just like, shut up. Let Tasha ask her question. Shut up, you know. And then finally Tasha was like, you know what, let me just sit back and let her talk because she wants to talk, apparently. But then she starts and she's like, I'm gonna play this phone call. Hold on. And it was toxic. It was horrible. It was the worst cussing out. It was beyond cussing out your kid. It was beyond cussing out anything. Like, it was the worst. So, which brings me to my point. I gave that enough life. Which brings me to my point. I believe that no matter what point Tokyo, Tony, you, or anyone else is trying to prove about your child. Your child Chyna could very well have done everything that she said. So for an example, Chyna very well could have lied and said she was raised by somebody else. She very well could be lying and saying whatever she's lying and saying. Tony could absolutely be right. Like, oh, she doesn't talk to me. She doesn't call me unless she wants something. I'm the one that writes her bios. Like, Tony was going off on everything. Let's say all of that is true. I don't think, and let me know, leave a comment down below. I don't think that type of berating that she did before she released that phone conversation, as well as witnessed in the phone conversation when she was on the phone with Blac Chyna, I don't think it's warranted. You are the adult. You had this child. And not only that, she admitted to being an escort and basically showing Blac Chyna the way of her ways, whatever that means to you, whatever that looks like. So she's a mirror image of you, because she was like, you know, I'm not proud of her because of the things that she had to do to get the money that she get, escort and da. And Tasha K was like, but she followed you. So you did that. Regardless, your children at one point or another, whether they're toddlers, teens, or adults, are going to do stuff that's going to be cringeworthy. Some parents, unfortunately, experience an extreme in that, where their kids do things that are absolutely horrendous. It's absolutely embarrassing and all of that. But the bottom line is, I believe that as a parent, you have to remain cool, calm, and collected in the situations that arise about your children. Whether you're disappointed, whether you're embarrassed, whether you feel slighted, whether you feel whatever. Does that mean that you won't have an argument with your kid? Absolutely. But there's a level of respect that should be involved when you're arguing with your adult children, when you are talking to your adult children. There's a thing that's because then the things that she was saying, it then becomes damaging. It then becomes toxic. When I can't imagine the psychological effects of someone telling their child, "You're dead to me." I think that when someone says "you're dead to me personally, what you're saying is, I don't mind if you die. You're dead to me. And I'm kind of wishing death on you. How could, and as Tasha K was saying, how could you say that about your own child? That's toxic. That's damaging. And I wouldn't be surprised if half of Blac Chyna's therapy sessions, if she's not in therapy, she's going to need therapy, is relating and unpacking and processing the things that she has said, or that her mom has said to her. I don't care, back to my original thought, I don't care what Blac Chyna has done. The level of dysfunction to speak about your child like that was crazy to me. And so I wanted to come on, and I just wanted to have that conversation. And, if you're that type of person where you fly off the handle on your kid or whatever, I would encourage you to really look at the psychological effects that may occur to your child. That's damaging, because as a parent, as wrong as it may be, kids, whether they're toddlers or whatever, they expect us to remain in control. And you can't be, go below the belt when it comes to getting back at them. And when you want to say a point, there's a way to say the things that you want to say without damaging your children. And the way she spoke to and about Blac Chyna, about her child, that's damaging, because it was beyond scum of the earth. It was beyond enemy. And you shouldn't speak about your child like that anyway. It's abusive. It was absolutely abusive. She wasn't even talking about me or someone that I love, because I don't follow these people like that. But my heart went out for her, because number one, when she was on the phone call, Blac Chyna, Angela, however you want to say, Angela couldn't get a word in edgewise. This woman was like so erratic. Guys, that is so damaging to your children. I am an early childhood major. I am a psychology major. And so I'm not talking to you as someone, and then I'm a parent. I'm not talking to you as someone that is not knowledgeable. I'm not talking to you with someone that hasn't had conflict with their children. Like, every parent has had some form of conflict, and it doesn't have to be anything extreme. Like, your freaking 3-year-old is about it for real. So it's the same thing. Like, I've heard people curse out 3-year-olds, for being 3-year-olds. So, it doesn't even have to be that extreme, but I've seen people absolutely lose it on their children. And I personally feel that when it comes to, I'm going to name call, I'm going to berate, I'm going to embarrass, I'm going to just really say some damaging things, the message of whatever it is that you're trying to say is lost. And then you're now abusing your child. And so that's what I wanted to come on and say. I wanted to give my opinion. Make sure you leave a comment down below. I'm going to link that video so that you can give Tasha K the view. Shout out to Tasha K, because that was crazy. And at the end of that conversation, Tasha literally was listening. We all were, where we were just like, when is she going to stop the recording? Because it was literally 4 to 5 minutes of just absolutely abuse, just abuse. So finally, Tasha was like, hang it up, hang it up, hang it up, hang it up, stop. And Tokyo was so proud. The mom was so, oh, I'm gonna listen, keep watching, keep listening. There's more, there's more. And so she tell her, you know, and so she was like fast forwarding to the quote good parts. There was no good part. There's nothing good about that. That's so hood rich. It's beyond hood rich. Like, I couldn't believe what I was listening to the point where I'm doing a video about it and just encouraging you. If that's you, take a look at that video. That's how you sound. And you have to remain in control. That's damaging. It's damaging. It's damaging. The psychological effects of having someone that's in authority, someone that created you. You created that person, and you're basically calling them trash and unworthy and unvaluable to you and dismissible to you. Now, goes on to my next conversation. Next part of the conversation. I would not blame Blac Chyna not one iota if she decided to cut her mom off and just not speak to her. I believe from a therapeutic standpoint, as a parent, as someone who is really, really conscious about protecting her peace, I believe that you have to do whatever it takes to protect your peace, especially from abuse, especially from toxic relationships, even if they're your family members. I believe that wholeheartedly. I don't condone, I don't get off on, I find it sad that there's that level of dysfunction to that point where there are children that are like, I'm out of here and I never want to see you again. I'm so thankful that, you know, I have such a great relationship with my kids. That's not the case. And I'm talking teenagers on up. My teenagers don't walk around with attitudes. They don't walk around like they want to be with us. We spend time, we watch movies together, that whole thing. Am I saying we're perfect? I'm not saying that they're perfect kids, but I'm just saying the way we relate to one another, it's a loving household in that regard. Like, I don't have that's where you see in movies and the teenagers around here slamming doors. I hate you. None of my kids have done that. They have not done that. And not because they were these robots that, you know, were always in compliant. You know, my kids stayed out past curfew. You know, they did stuff that I didn't necessarily approve of, but at the end of the day, they're still my children. And the point is to grow from those situations and not just throw your kids away. I don't subscribe to that mindset. And so the flip side of that is I couldn't be mad at my kids if I was treating them in such a toxic manner or in creating a toxic environment. I wouldn't want them to be in any situation, including with me. No. So there are so many people that battle with that question. Should I, could I remain in this relationship, this mother-daughter relationship, father-daughter, husband-wife, whatever relationship, if I know that it's toxic? I know that it is not good for me. And my suggestion is to just really take inventory of it. And if it's losing you sleep, peace, and giving you physical effects, it's not worth it. And this is an extreme case. Like, this isn't just, oh, my mom works my nerves. She tells me blah, 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 blah. You know, Thanksgiving is horrible because, you know, Thanksgiving with my family. No, when you're talking to your child the way Tokyo Toni talked about, and that's what she was proud of showing. So that's not the part of her life that's what we saw. I can't even imagine what we don't see when they're together. My advice, to anyone in that situation is to do whatever you need to do to protect your peace. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was kind of deep. And like I said, once you go and watch that other video, come back here and let's talk about it. So as always, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.